Have you ever wondered why some lessons are more effective than others? We've all been there, sitting in a class, riveted by every word the teacher speaks, every concept they explain. And then there are those other times where we watch the clock more than we watch the chalkboard. The difference between these two experiences often comes down to one critical factor: planning. The importance of planning lessons cannot be overstated. It's like the blueprint for a building. Without it, the construction process becomes chaotic, and the final product, unpredictable. In the context of education, a well-planned lesson is the foundation upon which effective teaching and learning are built. When a teacher invests time and thought into crafting a lesson plan, the benefits are manifold. Firstly, it provides a clear roadmap, guiding the teacher on the path to the learning objectives. It ensures that the pace and progression of the lesson are just right, steering clear of confusion and information overload. It also helps to allocate appropriate time for teaching, practicing, and reinforcing each concept. But the advantages of a well-planned lesson extend beyond the teacher. It plays a pivotal role in engaging students too. A lesson that's structured, yet flexible, rigorous yet relatable, can captivate students' attention and spark their curiosity. It can make learning an interactive, enjoyable process rather than a passive, mundane one. Moreover, effective lesson planning contributes to a positive learning environment. It fosters a sense of purpose and direction, reducing anxiety and boosting confidence. It encourages active participation and promotes deeper understanding. It's not merely about imparting knowledge, it's about inspiring a love for learning. So, you see, the power of effective lessons lies not just in the content delivered, but also in the method of delivery. It's not merely about what is taught, but how it's taught. And a significant part of the how is determined by the planning that goes into each lesson. So, how can you ensure your lessons are impactful? Let's explore. The first step in lesson planning involves knowing your students. Imagine you're a chef preparing a meal. You wouldn't just throw ingredients together without first considering who will be eating it, right? The same principle applies to lesson planning. The meal here is the knowledge you're serving, and your diners are your students. Understanding your students' needs, interests, and learning styles is the cornerstone of effective lesson planning. You're not creating lessons for abstract learners, but for real, diverse individuals with their unique ways of absorbing information. Let's talk about needs first. Every student comes with their own set of academic needs. Some might need extra help with reading, while others might excel in math, but struggle with science. It's your job as a teacher to identify these needs and plan your lessons accordingly. Next, consider their interests. Have you ever noticed how much easier it is to learn about something when you're truly interested in it? That's because our brains are wired to pay more attention to things we find enjoyable or meaningful. So, if you can find a way to incorporate students' interests into your lessons, you're already halfway to a successful learning experience. Now, on to learning styles. Some students are visual learners, preferring to see information presented as graphs, charts, or images. Others are auditory learners, who learn best when they can listen to information. And then there are kinesthetic learners, who thrive on hands-on activities. Understanding these different learning styles can help you tailor your lessons to meet individual learning needs. But remember, it's not about catering to every single preference in every single lesson. That's simply not feasible. Instead, it's about creating a balanced menu of learning experiences that cater to a variety of needs, interests, and learning styles over time. So, as you embark on your lesson planning journey, keep your students at the forefront of your mind. Know who they are, what they need, and how they learn. Use this knowledge as a compass to guide your lesson planning. Remember, a lesson that resonates with the students is a lesson that sticks. Next, it's time to set your lesson objectives. Imagine you're embarking on a journey. Without a clear destination in mind, you might end up wandering aimlessly, losing precious time and resources. The same principle applies to lesson planning. Without clear, measurable objectives, a lesson can quickly become a confusing maze for both teachers and students. So, what exactly are lesson objectives? Well, they are concise statements that describe what you want your students to know or be able to do by the end of the lesson. They serve as the roadmap for your lesson, guiding every decision you make, from the materials you choose to the activities you plan and even the assessments you create. Creating clear, measurable objectives is crucial. These aren't vague wishes or lofty goals, but specific, attainable targets. For instance, instead of saying students will understand photosynthesis, a more measurable objective would be students will be able to explain the process of photosynthesis in their own words. The beauty of clear objectives is that they provide a clear path for both the teacher and the students. For the teacher, they offer a clear direction for the lesson, helping to decide what content is relevant and what can be set aside. For the students, these objectives provide a sense of what they are supposed to learn, making it easy for them to track their progress and stay engaged. It's also important to remember that objectives should be student-centered. They aren't about what you, as a teacher, are going to do, but rather what the students will accomplish. This shift in perspective can make a world of difference, turning passive listeners into active learners. So how do you create these clear objectives? Start with the end in mind. Consider what you want your students to achieve by the end of the lesson and work backwards from there. Use action verbs that denote observable behaviors and be specific about what you expect the students to demonstrate. With clear objectives in mind, you can structure your lesson to meet these goals. After all, a well-planned journey is half the adventure. Now, let's dive into the heart of the lesson, the materials and activities. In the grand scheme of lesson planning, materials and activities are crucial. They're the tools that bring your lesson objectives to life, creating a vibrant, interactive environment where learning is not just a passive act, but an engaging, enjoyable experience. Imagine a lesson on environmental conservation. You could simply talk about it, or you could introduce an interactive activity where students brainstorm ways to reduce waste at school. The latter not only keeps students engaged, but also helps them connect the lesson to their everyday lives. Materials, too, play a significant role. They're not just textbooks or worksheets. They can be anything that aids learning, from a historical artifact in a history lesson to a fascinating science experiment in a chemistry class. The right materials can spark curiosity, encourage questions, and make learning tangible. It's essential to consider your students' learning styles when selecting materials and activities. Some students learn best by doing, while others prefer listening or visualizing concepts. For instance, in a lesson about the solar system, you could use a physical model for tactile learners, a colorful diagram for visual learners, and an engaging story for auditory learners. Now let's talk about differentiation. This means tailoring your materials and activities to cater to all students, regardless of their ability level. For instance, you might provide additional support materials for students who need them, or more challenging tasks for those who are ready to take the next step. One thing to note is that materials and activities should not be chosen at random. They must align with your lesson objectives. If your goal is to teach students about the water cycle, an activity on planting seeds might not be the best fit, no matter how engaging it might be. Finally, remember to keep a balance. While engaging materials and activities are important, they should not overshadow the core learning objectives. After all, the aim is to educate, not just to entertain. Remember, engaging materials and activities can make learning fun and memorable. Finally, let's not forget about assessment. This is the phase where we measure the effectiveness of our teaching and learning process. It's like the final piece of the puzzle that brings everything together in a lesson plan. Assessment, in its simplest form, is about understanding. It's about understanding how well our students have grasped the material we've taught them. It's about understanding where we, as educators, may need to adjust our teaching strategies. And it's about understanding how to guide our future teaching based on our students' needs and progress. When we talk about assessments, we often think of two main types: formative and summative. Formative assessments are like checkpoints. They're ongoing and give us real-time feedback on how well students are understanding the material. This could be through class discussions, quizzes, or even through observing the students during activities. On the other hand, summative assessments are more like a final review. They're done at the end of a unit or semester to evaluate how much the students have learned. This could be through tests, projects, or presentations. Both types of assessments serve a crucial role in lesson planning. They help us evaluate not only our students' understanding, but also the effectiveness of our teaching methods. They provide us with valuable data that can guide our future teaching and help us make necessary adjustments. For example, if we find that a majority of our students are struggling with a particular concept, it may indicate that we need to revisit that topic and teach it in a different way. Or if we see that our students are excelling in a certain area, it may suggest that we can move forward and introduce more challenging material. Incorporating assessments into lesson planning isn't just about evaluating students' understanding. It's also about continuous improvement and adapting our teaching to meet our students' needs. It's a tool that helps us become better educators. With thoughtful assessment, you can gauge the effectiveness of your lesson and make necessary adjustments. So let's not forget about this crucial step in our lesson planning. So there you have it, the key steps to effective lesson planning. We've journeyed together through this learning experience, exploring the power of effective lessons. We've come to understand that a well-crafted lesson plan is more than a roadmap. It's a compass that guides us towards our educational goals. We started by understanding our audience. Knowing who we're teaching allows us to tailor our lessons to their specific needs and abilities. Each student is a unique individual, and recognizing this diversity is the first step towards creating a truly inclusive and effective learning environment. Then we moved on to setting clear objectives. This is where the magic happens. Clear objectives give our lessons direction and purpose. They help us stay on track and ensure that our students know what to expect. They provide a measure for success, both for us and our students. Choosing engaging materials and activities was our next stop. We learned that the materials we use and the activities we choose can make or break a lesson. They're the tools we use to bring our lessons to life, to engage our students, and to make learning a fun and exciting adventure. And finally, we discussed planning for assessment. Assessment is not just about grades. It's about understanding our students' progress, identifying areas for improvement, and celebrating their achievements. It helps us ensure that our lessons are effective and that our students are learning. Now, we've reached the end of our journey, but this is only the beginning for you. With these key steps in hand, you're ready to create engaging and effective lessons that will inspire your students and make a real difference in their lives. Remember, a well-planned lesson is a powerful tool in the hands of a teacher. Now, it's your turn to create engaging and effective lessons. Before you go, don't forget to take action. The power to create effective lessons lies within you. Don't just consume this information, but apply it. Take a moment to reflect on the nuggets of wisdom shared in this video and see how they can fit into your lesson planning. And hey, if you found value in this video, let's make sure we stay connected. Hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on future content designed to help you elevate your teaching game. Give us a like if you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Your thoughts and experiences matter to us. Drop a comment below to share your insights or ask questions. We're here to learn together. Don't keep this to yourself. Share it with your fellow educators. Let's spread the knowledge and empower each other. Thank you for joining in today. Remember, every lesson counts. Until next time, happy planning.